This time, we're going to take a look at Bovard. I want to try to locate that for you. This is Greensburg over here. This shows the center of Greensburg. And you see a lot of yellow lines here. And there's one of them that I put here just to help you to get a sense of direction and location and distance. This yellow line is not a road. It's just one I put there to show from the center of Greensburg out to the center of Bovard is about 2.5, rather actually about 2.25 miles going approximately northeast. And this is Greensburg and this is Bovard. It's not very far out there. It's just like a, suburb. I just wanted to do that to get a sense of place. And Bovard shows up about out here. And Bovard would really have no existence if it weren't for coal. The big issues were under the farms out here in the 1850s, you had a 84-inch seam of coal. That's about 7 feet. That is a big seam of coal, thick. And one of the first times that it becomes evident that there's coal out here is when the Pennsylvania Railroad is being built. This line shows the building of the Pennsylvania Railroad. There was no railroad through this area before that. And you can see out here the Coons family living on both sides of where the railroad went. And the railroad was going to take, they were taking land, they were taking wood from the property there, they were digging things that they needed for fill and for rock. They were taking coal. And this, where it becomes a public issue, there's Jacob Coons filed papers at the courthouse saying that he was going to take the railroad to court and sue them for not just the materials like the wood and stone, trees and that kind of stuff, but he also mentioned coal in large amounts. And this was filed in 1853. And it really never went to court. They decided to settle out of court. The Coons were just basically a mom and pop operation. Jacob Coons and his wife, and they really didn't decide it would be a good idea to go through with this because it would take a lot of money for attorneys and that. So they settled. And you don't hear a lot about it, but it did become obvious that there was coal out there on their farm. There was no town there at all yet. And by 1890, this is the plot out there. This is the farm. And it's still in the Coons family. This time it's Daniel Coons owning it. And Daniel Coons decides to sell the farm, 113 acres of it, to a couple guys named Coulter and Huff. And these were a couple guys that when they had their mind on something, mind set on something, they were the kind of people not to get in the way of, because they had a way of just pushing through and not really worrying too much about who got hurt. By 1910, they had mines in Greensburg that went on strike. And they brought in the coal and iron police to throw these people out on the street. That is, women and children. The miners just simply got thrown out and had to live down along Slate Run. Coulter was local. He had several generations prior to him had been around Greensburg. His father had put in the first steam engine in Greensburg in 1826. He was also in the Civil War. By the time the Civil War was over, he was a general. He was wounded 3 times. He learned firsthand the high price of war. He brought home the reminders of the high price of war in his body. This was George Franklin Huff, who had his first job working in the car shops in Altoona, made his way into the banking business, and came out to Greensburg and got involved in the coal business out here. And we'll show a picture. This shows the plot that they bought from Daniel Coons. It was about 113 acres, right where Bovard mine is situated. This is the town itself, and this was the Bovard mine was out on this plot. They eventually bought out a lot more. You can see this is the original plot they bought in 1890. By 1893, they sold it to an outfit they had together called Hempfield Coal. By 1902, they put a larger group together called Keystone Coal. And by 1910, Keystone Coal owned everything from out here in Bovard the whole way into Greensburg. This is Lynch Field. Like I say, these were the guys who liked to move on and didn't care much about who they had to clean out. We're going to next take a ride through Bovard and see what's out there. We are right in the middle of Bovard. This is downtown. And we should go across this intersection and keep going, and I think that'll take us to where the mine used to be. Barak Street, that should do it. We're looking at these houses built by Keystone Coal and Coke in 1910. And we can believe that a lot of guys walked this street on their way to go into work in the mines. And what I'm seeing in front of me is we're not going to get too far here. The road that I was hoping to follow, take us out to the mine, is blocked off, so that's as far as we can go. This gives us a little bit of an overview of what was once Bovard. We're looking at it from this street up here that is called Barak Street. And as we turn around and look this way, we're going to see if we can make our way up to what was the old mine. And that's Wolfgang, he's with me. Well, what happened there was we had to get out of the car. And we got under the fence and started walking up the hill, and then I did an about face looking back to Bovard. But we are going to continue on up to see the mine, but that'll be another day, the next one. We were coming in on this road here. Actually, this is rather murky. It was a map that showed up in the 75th anniversary book of Bovard. And you notice they refer to Bovard as Crow's Nest. Before it was Bovard, before it was called Bovard, it was called Crow's Nest. And then it was renamed, I believe, after Harry Bovard, who was a big operator in Keystone Coal and Coke. But we'll hear about that too. Since this is a rather murky map, I want to see if we can get the better version in here. This is a version of that map that I cleaned up a bit. Our journey coming in was in a car. We were coming out in what was originally called First Street, and now the street names have been changed a bit. It's now, on the signs, it's called Barak or Barak Street. We came up to about this point and we couldn't go any further because the road was blocked off, and that's the point where we stopped the car and we got out and crawled under the gate and we came up this way. And the next time we do one of these, we're going to go up into the area of the mine itself. We'll see what that was about. This is the view from the air, just to give you a sense of where we're at. This red line is the main line of the Pennsylvania Railroad that goes on into Greensburg. This is George Station Road. It comes up from Route 30, goes across the Donahue Road. And once upon a time there was a siding It went off of the main line and went up into the mine. And this was the mine area in here. You can see in this area there still is a lot of mine dump, place where the refuse from the mine was dumped. This is Bovard itself, the populated area. This is the old town over here. This is newer, a newer, more or less suburban addition that wasn't there previously. It was only developed probably in the 1980s and really had nothing to do with the mine. The mine itself, which we'll see in the next video on Bovard, was right around in this area up in here. And I think maybe we've said enough, and we can shut this down and talk about it later. Bye-bye.